What's happening, good people? TikTok, TikTok. It's the Doomsday Clock. The Doomsday Clock. Oh gosh, I'm here doing the Doomsday Clock live show here. Anyways, I'm gonna hear myself hopefully in a second here to make sure I'm coming in, and then we're gonna kick off the show. Yeah.
TikTok.
There we go. TikTok, TikTok. Anyways, hey, good people. Thanks for tuning in to the show, and it's kind of a spontaneous live show. Probably not gonna go too long, maybe till about 6 o'clock or so. Gonna cover a bunch of things that I've been keeping an eye on. And yeah, just in case you're wondering in the chat, sometimes people, Jeff's always late. No, I'm not late at all. I'm quite punctual. It's just I'm making a show and then I put up the show. Doesn't mean the show is gonna start when you put up the show. It just means I'm getting things ready. So please try to understand that. Have patience. Don't think I'm, I don't know, twiddling my thumbs, playing video games or something. I don't know. I'm working hard. So anyways, thank you very much for tuning into the show. Now, TikTok time's up. You've been seeing it everywhere for the past few years, even longer maybe. The whole sort of coding for Doom, I guess. Yeah. It seems like that everywhere, right? That they're using this clock symbolism and they've been amping it up and amping it up and amping it up. And everywhere you look, TikTok. TikTok is the most viral sort of form of social media these days, right? You've got the Time's Up movement. And it's all the same symbolism. It's all black and white sort of Freemasonic symbolism. So we've got that. We got the Doomsday Clock now today being moved to, hey, got 100 seconds, 100 seconds. How magnanimous of them, 100 seconds. What does that equate to? I want to beat up YouTube community. I'm only joking, but I want to beat up the people that are behind the Doomsday Clock. I want to beat them up. I just want to, because, I mean, what the hell are you doing, right? What is the point? What is the point? Right. Well, I know probably what the point is, but I mean, it's so redundant what they do, and it obviously it has symbolic meaning, and obviously they're counting down something that's gonna happen, or a whole bunch of things that are about to happen. Perhaps are we in for a really rough year? Is it this year? Is it next year? Is it the year after? Is everything gonna just go crazy? We've got the coronavirus that's being coded massively, and there's lots of symbolism dealing with that. I did a video yesterday talking about how the Terminator Dark Fate had this really bizarre extended sort of expository scene featuring Corona, and it was done specifically just so people noticed that they were drinking Corona bottles, which to me only makes sense if it's like the worst, most obvious product placement in movie history, or if it's coding the corona sort of virus, and I take the latter. People mention the limes and the fact that citrus is often used when outbreaks happen, sort of thing. So lots of symbolism happening. I am not the expert at all when it comes to constellations and astronomy and all that stuff, but I will touch on Betelgeuse, because the Betelgeuse, if you're not familiar, in the constellation of Orion, they're saying that there's an imminent sort of supernova. Of course, with the corona, if you don't know what a corona means, the corona involves the sun, or involves starlight sort of thing. So it's like when there's an example I can give you is like when there is a full eclipse of the sun. So the moon goes in front of the sun. The light around the blackened out sun is the corona itself. So there's lots of sun symbolism and moon symbolism, as always, being bandied about these days. Now, what would happen if Betelgeuse does go supernova? Well, it's actually kind of a big deal, because you're going to have a dramatically different nighttime sky. According to the scientist, Betelgeuse's supernova will be as bright as a full moon. So there's a lot of crazy things that could be happening over the next little while. How do all these things tie together? And again, there's a lot of, I've talked about it over the years that a possibility for, you could have a number of things happening, including massive sort of, people talk about EMPs, for instance. And, if EMPs were used as weapons, say, against continental United States, Canada, things like that, we'd be set back to the 1800s, basically. Like, we would, all our power grid would be fried. And, this is something they could have in the cards, and they could blame it on some sort of celestial event, perhaps. Maybe it could be our own sun, or even the supernova Betelgeuse itself. So these are things to take into consideration as things move forward, because it seems like they're depicting a complete breakdown in civilization in the near future. At least that's what the video games and the movies and everything seems to be showing over and over again. And so, it's hard for me to watch any movie. Like, I had a hard time going through that Dark Fate Terminator movie. It was just terrible. And everyone involved in it deserves to be bitch slapped to hell and back. But all the agendas, so many of them, are apparent in that particular film, including, of course, mass migration, open borders, transhumanism, transgenderism, role reversal, depopulation, AI, all these things coming together. AI presenting itself as Legion, which is also what the devil and the sort of satanic elite refer to themselves as, Legion sort of thing. So very interesting coding in a lot of these things. And I only see little slices, so I try to put together some of the stuff that I see. But yeah, this, as you see up on the screen here, the TikTok times up 100 seconds to midnight, it all has the same look to it, doesn't it? Right? Does it all look the same? Yeah, it does. It's all black and white, sort of Freemasonic clock sort of symbolism. And this is what I've been talking about for quite some time. I've been talking about this symbolism. TikTok, time's up, time's up. And they've been showing this over and over again, whether it be like the Watchmen sort of television series where the guy's saying tick tock, and then what are you waiting for? Oh, it's only the end of the world, right? All these things happening, all this orchestration. Now you have the big Trump three-ring circus with his impeachment, and I imagine there's a lot of coding going on in that, but that to me is just all theatrics. I don't really waste time with that stuff. I look at the bigger picture of what might be going on. Now the coronavirus obviously is something that's exploding right now and could potentially be used as some sort of, tool to bring in mass vaccinations, martial law. Who knows, right? I mean, if it's something that they carry out and they have massive plans for it, or, if by some chance it's an actually genuine virus that just got out stuff, I'm very skeptical of that. But nonetheless, it seems to be coded in many things, and I imagine a lot of it will come forth in the future. Now the people are probably looking for it. Maybe people will see it. And so what could possibly happen with this virus? Will there be mass quarantines, for instance? They quarantine apparently the town of Wuhan, where it's supposedly derived. And then the whole thing about, well, how big is China into the New World Order? Well, yeah, China is kind of the New World Order in many ways. They're just a few decades ahead. Well, not even decades ahead, but they're years ahead of us for sure. And they've been prepping for a lot of what potentially could be coming down the road. So it's not surprising that this originated from China. But anyways, yeah, we're going to take a look into this. And yeah, I'll try to get into the audience a bit later. As I said, I'm not going to go that long today, but I will try to address the audience a bit later. And yeah, we'll switch around here. I'm going to get to my screen here. So as you see here, I can't always be sure what I've got on my screen here, because sometimes I noticed this the other day. I was flipping through one of my videos and I was talking about things that were off the screen that people couldn't see because I was looking at the actual web page than actually looking at what my OBS is presenting. So I apologize if that does happen. Maybe I'll try to squeeze it in a little bit better here. Yeah, maybe like that'll be good. Okay, so yeah, you see some of the headlines here with the Doomsday Clock. Doomsday Clock nears apocalypse over climate and nuclear fears. Climate. Doomsday clock moves to 100 seconds to midnight, the closest point to nuclear. So, they came up with this thing. So we'll talk about what this stupid doomsday clock is, where it came from, because people need to know. And then we'll look at their actual webpage and examine some of the symbolism stuff that they're showing. So the doomsday clock is a symbol which represents the likelihood of a man-made global catastrophe, maintained since 1947. What else came out in 1947? I wonder. By the members of the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, the clock is a metaphor. It's a metaphor for the threats to humanity of unchecked scientific technical advances. And it's like, and then again, one of the things to take into consideration too is the AI, right? And even the Terminator type films that depict AI, taking over humanity and then wiping out humanity. I mean, there's all kinds of things that they could do. And if it happens, right, if the SHIT hits the FAN, well, I don't have to spell fan, I can say fan. If the SHIT hits the fan, they could blame it on whatever, right? They could say, oh yeah, AI woke up, is attacking us and all this stuff. But anyways, yeah, unchecked scientific and technical advances. Interesting, right? This is it, unchecked scientific and technical advances. So metaphor of threats of humanity from unchecked scientific and technical advances. You notice it doesn't say, warfare or geopolitics, right? It's like, what? Doesn't say global warming. It doesn't say anything about global warming, at least not here, right? But it specifically says unchecked. So threats to humanity from unchecked scientific and technical advances. So scientific and technical advances, basically our tech and our science, is what's going to kill us. That's great. Wonderful. All right. Awesome. Wow. I mean, are we living in the Black Mirror episode? Is this all meant to be? Is this all going to play out the way that it's going to play out? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm just a dude with a computer and a microphone, I'm doing my best, but it's just bizarre. It's like, why would you do that? Like, what you want it to happen? Like, does it ever, does the doomsday clock ever go the opposite direction? Well, clock only, it's clockwise, right? So the clock only goes in one direction. Of course, the clock is Saturn, by the way, and Kronos. We won't get into that at this particular time, but the clock only really goes one way. So it never goes further away from midnight. It only goes closer. Isn't that convenient how it works? That's why I think these people, YouTube community, are actually bona fide scumbags. And, they're in many ways gaslighting. Well, maybe not even gaslighting, might not be the right term. Learned helplessness, demoralizing, right? Humanity sort of thing, where they're well, you could say it's a form of gaslighting, perhaps, because people see this, they see the Extinction Rebellion, which, of course, I should point this out. When we're talking about symbolism, right? Extinction Rebellion has very telling symbolism. It's the hourglass symbolism. It's as above, so below, the kind of so-called Star of David, of course, but it is an hourglass in many ways. What does that look like, folks? Tock. Remember what I'm showing here? Let's see if we just go back here. I should have stuck that one in. I didn't think of it at the time I was doing it. I was desperately, quickly trying to put things together. But if we show that again, yeah. See that? See that, folks? Right? It's all the same, isn't it? It's all the same symbolism. It's again, the clock sort of symbolism, that we're in a countdown, like runaway greenhouse gases, global warming, that it's out of control, that it's and they're telling us we only have a decade left. Which, maybe they got something big that is gonna wipe most of humanity out, but I mean, to think that somehow the planet is just a runaway greenhouse gas effect, and it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, up here in Rainbow Unicorn Land, our winters are cold as FUCK, and they're getting longer than ever. But nonetheless, you have this Extinction Rebellion, and this is their home where they use children, of course, because children, right? Because it's the perfect sort of guise for your globalism and your New World Order. You hide behind children. You use children as puppets, and then people can't throw things at children because they're children. They're innocent. And then you can't get mad at them. You can't say, hey, you're not a scientist. Hey, Greta, can you show me your science degrees, please? And then they'll say, that's hate speech. Or Greta would apply her selective mutism towards you. She'd just say, this is my superpower. I'm using. She wouldn't even say it. She's just, I'm implementing my superpower against you. I choose to block you out. But look at this. Isn't this interesting? There is your hourglass symbolism here. Along with your skull death symbolism. And X. Of course, X, just like the hourglass, like Saturn itself, the symbol, right? So you see how all of this kind of comes together. Where is your plan? What is your plan? Where is your plan? What is my plan? What is it supposed to be? Oh, I guess I'm gonna get an electric bicycle. I'm gonna live in a sewer tube. Yeah, I'm gonna live in a sewer tube underneath the freeway. I gotta eat some Soylent Green. That's my plan. I gotta change my gender. I mean, I guess. I mean, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I mean, right? What's your plan? Where is your plan? Where is your plan? Where is it? It's up my butthole. I mean, where is it? The truth. Act now. Join us. Right? So yeah, no accident that this hourglass symbolism is being used. This is what they're doing everywhere. The time is up. The time is up. So, again, getting back to the Doomsday Clock. The clock represents a hypothetical global catastrophe as midnight. And the bulletin's opinion on how to choose the world is to a global catastrophe as a numbers. Okay, so let me read that again. The clock represents the hypothetical global catastrophe as midnight, and the bulletin's opinion on how close the world is to a global catastrophe as the number of minutes to midnight. Now, we are no longer in a number of minutes. We're less than 2 minutes now. So we're 100 seconds. 100 seconds. Thanks, guys. I got enough time to go to get some Soylent Green at the grocer. I mean, do you have enough time? I mean, what are you gonna run out of time? What do you want people to do? What do you expect them? Where's your plan? Where's your plan? Hashtag. Where's your plan? Where's your plan? The factors influencing the clock are nuclear risk and climate change. Here they mention climate change. You gotta love that too, if you can see that climate change. The whole world is all lit up in yellow. God's taking a piss on the world, guys. Yeah, the whole world. There's some cold parts down here. You can live with the penguins, man. You gotta like that penguin meat. If you get down there with the penguins, right? You get down there, you get a barbecue going. You can just live off penguin meat. You'll live maybe 100 years. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, this is what they want to now. So it's interesting. I have to illustrate this because the clock was made long before the whole global warming scare really took off in earnest when it was being used as a weapon. So they made this clock largely because, I mean, the guys that made the clock are the guys that made the bomb. This is the craziest thing, right? The people that made this clock are the same COCK suckers who made the Manhattan Project. Thanks, guys! Thanks, guys! You made us a doomsday clock for your doomsday bombs. I mean, like, what a bunch of scumbags. What a bunch of scum. I want to tell these people, YouTube community, I want to tell them that they're a bunch of scumbags. You guys are a bunch of I don't care what games you're playing. You're a bunch of scumbags. So you make this doomsday weapon, and then you make this doomsday clock. And then you just keep moving the clock closer to midnight. You know, what are you trying to do? Of course, you're trying to freak people out. And how are people supposed to digest? What are you supposed to do? The Extinction Rebellion, the Disney media the New York Times, the BBC, CBC, everyone's telling you it's the end of the world, or the end of the world is in. We're gonna the end. It's got 10 years left. It's all gonna be done. I mean, imagine the kids that are growing up today. I mean, of course, this is what they want. This is why they're normalizing suicide. I talked about this in a recent podcast where I said in Quebec, can you imagine this? 2019, of course, or 2020, pardon me. You could probably imagine this. But in Quebec, the government's trying to pass legislation for assisted suicide. Now, you think that's bad, right? Because maybe you think it's good. Like, oh, somebody's sick of cancer and they're dying, they're old, they're in their 80s, 90s, something like that. That'll be good for them. They're actually trying to put in legislation that would assist teenagers. I mean, I'm laughing, but it's scary at the same time. They want to put in legislation that will allow the government to assist suicide teenagers who are suffering from mental depression, from mental illness. This is nuts. Euthanasia for kids because they're watching their Black Mirrors and they think the world's going to end. Well, I wonder who put that idea in their head. Anyways, the clock's original setting was in 1947. And it was 7 minutes to midnight. It has been set. Oh, it has been set backwards. It's been set backward and forward 23 times since then. The smallest number of minutes to midnight being 1 minute and 40 seconds, which is now, and the largest being 17 in 1991. The clock was set to 2 minutes to midnight in January 2018 and left unchanged in 2019 due to the twin threats. The twin peaks here. The twin threats of nuclear weapons and climate change. When was the last time somebody used a nuke? That was Hiroshima. No, it was Nagasaki, right? Oh, really? What, are we on the edge of nuclear war? Well, never know. There's that little country in the Middle East there. It causes a lot of problems. Not to talk about them, though. Anyways, and the problem of those threats being exacerbated this past year by the increased use of information warfare. What? Oh, those truthers. To undermine democracy. Oh, that cracks me up. It's the Russians. The Russian hacks. Those Russian. Yeah, the Russian bots. The Russian bots. They're threatening our democracy. They're gonna threaten our level of carbon taxes, guys. We gotta get on protest while we change our genders. I mean, it's just so silly. It's so silly, isn't it? Isn't it silly? So the Doomsday Clock's origin can be traced back to the international group of researchers called the Chicago Atomic. It sounds like a rock band or something. Like an experimental rock band. Chicago atomic scientists who participated in what? The Manhattan Project. Wonderful. So the guys that made us the nuclear bomb bring us the Doomsday Clock. After the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they began publishing a memographed newsletter, and then a magazine, Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, since its inception, has depicted the clock on every cover. The clock was first represented in 1947 by Bulletin co-founder Hyman Goldsmith. Oh, you don't say. Oh, who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? Never happens that way, folks. What do you say? Never. Don't talk like that. Asked artist Marty Langsdorff. Hey, Marty, can you do your Schwartz thing? Marty, wife of Manhattan research associate, and Szilard petition here, drafted by scientist Leo Szilard. Szilard. Oh my God. All right, and these characters, and then as Eugene Rabinowitz, not a witch, guys. Eugene Rabinowitz. Oh man, these people. What are you gonna? You can't say anything. You're not allowed to say anything. You can't say saying things is anti-Semitic, folks. It's Come on, seriously. Speaking is anti-Semitic. Come on, seriously. It's 2020. You have an opinion? That's anti-Semitic. Anyways, the bulletin's clock is not a gauge to register the ups and downs of the international power struggle. It is intended to reflect basic changes in the level of continuous danger in which mankind lives in a nuclear age. Yeah, basically they're just to freak people the F out, right? I mean, it's just unbelievable what's going on. I mean, this stuff is just out of this world. I'm just going to check here quickly to make sure the screen is coming in okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, I hate this stuff. I hate these things. I don't want to. Why can't we just enjoy life? Why? I mean, seriously. You know, it's funny because people say, "Oh, why do you do this type of work? You know, why can't you just enjoy things?" Well, I mean, what are you supposed to enjoy? Every Extinction Rebellions, protesting your city. You know, everyone's changing their genders. It's the Doomsday, and put on a Disney movie. Yeah, it's all apocalyptic movies, dark themes, and end times and Doomsday. You know what? The New World Order is massively gaslighting all of humanity on a daily basis. Like this is part of their control system in many ways. It's just to make you feel like you've got no chance of stopping whatever's going to happen. And maybe you don't. And maybe you should just say, I don't give two SHITs. Maybe you should, because, I mean, what are you going to do? But this is the whole thing. It's like, don't be a conspiracy theorist because you're going to think, all this crazy stuff. Well, you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist. Just look at Disney, look at the media, look at the New York Times, look at the BBC, look at every single day on the CBC. It's the end of the world. They're putting up doomsday clocks. It's not even the conspiracy theorists that are saying, oh, the end of the world is here. I mean, they're the Christian ones that say end of times and stuff like that. You can't really blame them. But the reality is, it's actually the corporate media itself, the Disney media, that every day is telling you, doom is here. Time's up. Right? Tick-tock, the end of the world. The end of the world is here. It's the end of the world as we know it. I mean, everywhere you look, they're pushing this doomsday. All your video games are post-apocalyptic. Everything is doom. All the movies, the television shows, Walking Dead, all these zombies everywhere, right? I mean, like, what do you expect? The reality is that your entertainment, well, obviously, I mean, you're on this channel, you probably know your entertainment is programming, but I mean, it's like all around us, we are constantly being inundated with this doom and death and end of times and, runaway greenhouse gas, climate change, extinction, it's just hammered in us. So you wonder, and I talk about this all the time, okay? One of the things I talk about is they're making people mentally ill. So that's the first thing to think about. They're making people mentally ill. If you're hooked up to your narcissistic, Instagram or your whatever it is, Twitter, YouTube, whatever, and you're doing your gender changing, right? And you're taking selfies of yourself and you're displaying how much of a hero you are because you choose not to engage in sexual procreation and you're the most valid person on the planet. And, you're already mentally suffering in so many different ways, but they normalize all of that. They normalize the worst types of behavior. Look at the Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star type characters. Every day, YouTube's biggest celebrities are coming out as either transgender, bisexual, or whatever, right? And everywhere you look, you see this toxic sort of behavior, normalizing obesity, normalizing depression, and then coming out saying depression is a superpower. You've got the Bell media here in Canada for the last decade have been pushing this awful sort of let's talk, tick-tock, normalizing depression. It's like the media is making people, they're manufacturing. It's like a giant depression corporation that's churning out people, rainbow unicorn people who are suffering from all kinds of things, obesity, mental illness, sexual confusion, broken families, just like everything. They're just chalking these people out that they're saying, you people are the most valid people ever. You're the best people in the world. You're superheroes. You're X-Men. You're the people, and you know, your obesity or your mental illness or your transgenderism is your superpower. Your Asperger's is your superpower. Right? All these things that are destroying you are your superpowers, and you need to not only embrace them but identify with them. So this is kind of what I'm hopefully trying to show in part of this whole thing, is that they are purposely depressing humanity in the worst of ways, in the most insidious ways, like the pseudoscientific ways, like these pseudoscientists that get up on stage and move this clock around. Like, these people deserve, YouTube community, they deserve to be bitch slapped, right? They deserve that at a bare minimum. Because what are you doing? Who the hell are you? Who the hell made you the arbiter of humanity, like our fate or the planet's fate, right? Some nerdy ass douchebags with some PhDs shoved up their rectums. Anyways, so Langsdorff here, these names, Langsdorff, chose a clock to reflect the urgency of the... I wonder why. Like a countdown, the clock suggests that destruction will naturally occur unless someone takes action. Greta! And then you got the January 2007 designer Michael B. Root, I wonder, of course, here, who has won a bulletin governing board, redesigned the clock to give it a more modern feel. Hey guys, more modern. Your tube's coming. We updated your doom clock. We made it more modern. We put a rainbow in it. No, they don't put the rainbow. They just put the black and white. But anyways, so in 2009, the bulletin ceased its print edition, and it became one of the first print publications in U.S. to become entirely digital. Wonderful. The clock is now found in part of the logo of the bulletin's website. Information of the Doom Clock's Symposium, a timeline of the clock settings, and multimedia shows about the clock's history and the culture, and can also be found on the bulletin's website. We'll take a look at their website in a second here. These people are sick. Look, these people are sick. That's it. You're sick. What? Doomsday clock? I mean, seriously, do you take the Doomsday clock, shove it up your cake hole? That's what I want to say to these people. Like, seriously. So the 5th Doomsday Clock Symposium, held November the 14th in Washington, D.C. in 2013. It was a day-long event that was open to the public. Hey, bring the children to the Doomsday Clock! It featured panelists discussing various issues on the topic of the communicating catastrophe, guys. The 33, no coding in there. I mean, come on. It never ends. It's always there. They always got to throw that in. It's uncanny. These people. There was also an evening event at the Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden in conjunction with the Hirshhorn current exhibit. Damage control, art and destruction since the... Yeah, come and see the art and destruction. Wonderful. The panel discussions held at the American Association of Advancement of Science were streamed live from the Bulletin's website and can be viewed there, reflecting international events dangerous to humankind. The clock has been adjusted 22 times since its inception in 1947, when it was set at 7 minutes to midnight. So here's the clock thing. It's like that game Dig Dug. You dig and you can go down, you can go up here, and then you can go up and down, and dig and down, go up and down, and go up and down. Oh yeah. These assholes. I'm sorry. And then they talk about why the clock's been moved, right? And they got the Soviet Union test of the first atomic bomb. They took off 4 minutes. 4 minutes. And you think about it, in the 1950s, what happened? With the Cold War, the height of the Cold War? In the House of Un-American Activities, right? You had the whole fear of nuclear catastrophe. You had the children doing the nuclear bomb drills. Duck and cover, remember? I mean, you don't remember. None of us probably. Maybe some of us lived through it. Hopefully, we got some older people here that did. But... you know, they would do this duck and cover thing with kids, like a nuclear bomb's coming, it's gonna hit your city. Get under your desk, put your hands over your head. Yeah, that'll work. That'll help you. And then yeah, you've got the Suez crisis, and certain things that happen here. In which hey, +5, the United States and Soviet Union signed the partial test ban treaty, so they put it forth 5, and then they took away 5 a few years later. They took away 5 minutes. The involvement of the United States in the Vietnam War. And then yeah, recently it's all just been downhill. It's just downhill all the way. There was +3 here. December 1987. The clock is moved back 3 minutes as the United States and the Soviets signed the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. There's your characters. I always love the Naked Gun where Lieutenant Frank Drebin gets Gorbachev in a headlock, and he goes weak 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 weak. He wipes the scar off his forehead, and he's like, I knew it. You have Ronald Reagan here, who had dementia and Alzheimer's and whatever else at this point in time. He was just basically a gibbering, jelly bean eating, fruitcake, barely conscious. I mean, I don't know how he even managed to function at that point in time. Hey, he's a hero, guys. He's a hero. He's a great. Yeah, put him up on Rushmore. Put him up on Rushmore. United States and the Soviet Union signed the first strategic arms treaty. That's when they moved it +7. That's the last time they moved it. And then they have India and Pakistan here. They took it down -5 because it's all because of India and Pakistan. Well, if India and Pakistan bomb the crap out of each other, how does that affect us? How does it affect the world? I don't know. I guess it does. Right? But this is like the kind of stuff that they do. So both India and Pakistan, this is in 1998, test nuclear weapons, a tit-for-tat show of aggression. The United States and Russia run into difficulties in further reducing stockpiles. So they took 5 minutes off for India and Pakistan. Wonderful. And then they got North Korea, your fake state with your fake leaders and your total absolute garbage, made for television drama thing. They took off 2 minutes for that. And then it actually added a minute here. World cooperation to start nuclear arsenals and limit the climate change. Now all of a sudden it's climate change, right? Like, yeah, we started it because nuclear weapons and Cold War and all that, but then something called climate change came in, and guess what? Yeah, we're starting to take off minutes because of that, right? Because, yeah, climate change is going to take down everything, right? I mean, it's such idiocy. What is it going to be next, right? I mean, climate change, now we got to... anyways, lack of global political action to address climate change. You see how it's all changed now, right? Concerns, and then another 2 minutes in 2015, concerns amid continued lack of global political action to address what? CC, climate change, again. And then they took off half a minute here. United States President Donald Trump. So this is 2017. So wait, let's just see here. Just in the past years here, we've had 2, 3 and a quarter here, or 3 1/3 minutes removed just since 2015 here. So concerns amid continued lack of global action to address global climate change, the modernization of nuclear weapons of the United States and Russia, and the problem of nuclear waste. It's just throw everything in there. Now they're going to put the Chinese virus there, the coronavirus. Oh, we just moved it 5 seconds closer. United States President Donald Trump's his comments over nuclear weapons. There you go. Hey, he made some comments. The orange-faced ogre, yeah, that actor. He made some comments. Let's move the clock again. It's so dumb. And then the threat of a renewed arms race between the United States and Russia. The expressed disbelief in scientific consensus over CC, climate change, of course. The failure of the world leaders to deal with the looming threats of nuclear war and climate change. And then here we have 2020 today. The failure of the world leaders to deal with the increasing threats of nuclear war, such as the end of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Force Treaty between the United States and Russia, as well as increased tensions between the U.S. and Iran, and the continued ability to combat climate change, or the continued inability, pardon me, to combat climate change. This is the closest the clock has been to midnight. You can't really take minutes off anymore. We don't have any minutes left, guys. We ran out of minutes. I mean, like, you can't even take minutes. Now they got to take seconds off. Oh, I hate these people. I hate these people. I mean, just hashtag hate. I hate what they're doing. I hate the whole game. And this is their website here. Closer than ever. Closer than ever. It's 100 seconds to midnight. Yay! Yay! Do we still have to pay carbon credits? I mean, what's the point? If it's all going to end, why? Why not just go out and drive gas guzzlers and freaking have bonfires in every backyard? I mean, why not? Why not just enjoy it? Just enjoy it. It's all going to end, right? That's what you guys are saying. It's 100 seconds to midnight. Yay. Editor's note. Oh, wait. I'm not going to read that because we kind of read over all that crap before. They talk about 13 Nobel laureates here. I wonder who wins those prizes. I don't know. Probably don't talk about those people. But yeah, to leaders and citizens of the world, closer than ever. It's 100 seconds to midnight. Date, January 23rd, 2020. It is, I consent. I consent. Humanity continues to face two simultaneous existential dangers, nuclear war and climate change, that are compounded by a threat multiplier, cyber-enabled information warfare. Those damn truthers. That undercuts society's ability to respond. Making this bigger, bringing this up, keeping in mind that you may not be able to see my full screen here. The international security situation is dire. Not just because of these threats, but because the world leaders have allowed, they're terrible people, they've allowed international political infrastructure for managing them to erode. In the nuclear realm, national leaders have ended or undermined several arms control treaties and negotiations during the last year, creating an environmental conducive to a renewed nuclear arms race, to the proliferation of nuclear weapons, and the lowered barrier to nuclear war. Political conflicts regarding the nuclear programs in Iran and North Korea remain unresolved and are, if anything, worsening. U.S.-Russia cooperations on arms control and disarmament is all but non-existent. Public awareness of climate crisis. See, it's not climate change, it's climate crisis. Make sure you put the 33 in there, guys. Grew over the course of 2019, largely because of mass protests by what? Young people around the world. I gotta save the world to change their genders at the same time. Just the same, the government action on climate change still falls short of meeting the challenge at hand. A UN climate meetings last year, national delegates made fine speeches but put forward few concrete plans to further limit the carbon dioxide emissions that are disrupting the Earth's climate. This limited political response came during a year when mass effects of man-made climate change were manifested by one of the warmest years on record. Extensive wildfires, quicker than ever, melting of glacier ice, whatever. Extensive wildfires. Are they wildfires? Are they? Max Egan, are they wildfires? Do they have, Max Egan, do they have wildfires on the flat Earth? Flat Earth, flat Earth, flat Earth. Anyways, so you get the whole picture with this Doomsday crap, and they always have their cast of characters like this clown here. It's just they're Muppets. You know what Muppets are, right? This is a Muppet, this guy here. This is a Muppet. And here they are. Look at this. It is 100 seconds to midnight. They actually made a sign. They hired a professional sign maker or whatever to design this and actually write this out, and it's like in three-dimensional block letters. This is the type of scumbags that we're dealing with. This is the type of crap that they do to humanity on a daily basis. This massive form of gaslighting where it's like, you know, everywhere you look, you're seeing doom and destruction. And then you have these jokers with their doomsday clock. Time's up, time's up, time's up. So this is the BBC, and they give you a rundown of the whole thing here. And yeah, here it goes. So, you know what? We're going to take a look at some of the other things dealing with the time sort of thing with the times up here before I move on to some of the other stuff connected possibly to this. You see how times up the movement, just like Me Too, the movement times up, of course, using that black and white sort of symbolism here that they always use. Times up. Times up, join us now. Times up movement. So times up here. We're changing the world. one feminist dyke at a time. One angry feminist dyke at a time. We're changing the world. Don't worry, you're not overweight. You're not obese. You're just plump. You're beautiful. We're turning pain into action. Why do you have pain? Who's causing the pain? We're getting to the root of root of the problem, addressing gender inequality as its source. Well, there you go. You gotta look at this. I joined it. I mean, I hate this crap. I hate it. If you believe this stuff, you're under mind control, all right? Stop hating men. Every woman deserves to feel safe. Everybody needs a safe space. Yeah, everybody needs a safe space, right? And feel safe and respected at work. No, you don't. I mean, well, you earn that respect. What are you talking about? You don't do your job. You don't work hard. You don't treat people well. Nobody should respect you. Respect is earned. You don't just get it because of your gender. Every woman deserves to feel safe and respected at work. Time's Up is fighting to make that vision a reality here. It's like, what's going on with this woman? What is going on? I mean, what's up with your body? What are you wearing? What is this, a costume? She looks like a Weeble Wobble, like one of those Fisher-Price characters that you had as a kid or something. It's like, is her head even attached to this body? Where does it attach? I mean, I don't understand what's going on with this. Why is she got this face on? I hate men. I hate men. I'm free now. I hate men. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what the hell is going on? Why? What do you... because of mind control. That's it. Mind control. That explains everything. So we'll look in the news here, of course, with Weinstein. Made in Hollywood. Time's Up lauds accusers testifying at Weinstein trial. In fact, I'll just show this. So we'll do the little Me Too. We'll go that. And you see the same thing. It's the same thing. Me Too. Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein. Me Too. And again, I just want to say this about all the female actors that are coming out. I don't care if Harvey Weinstein raped you or you're going to claim that Harvey Weinstein raped you. You are scumbags. You, if anything happened to you at all, you should have done it at that very moment. And you tell me, anyone out there doesn't know that anybody that wanted to be an aspiring star in Hollywood didn't know what it meant to walk into Harvey Weinstein's office and what was expected of you. And how many of these women gladly gave themselves to this hideous creep because they knew that would get them Golden Globes and Oscars and millions of dollars. And now all of a sudden they're all victims? No, you're all scumbags of the highest order. And nobody should feel any sympathy for these people. And not only that, they demean actual women that have suffered, actual women that have really suffered from sexual abuse. Because all these scumbags that use the Hollywood casting couch to get their millions of dollars and their name and lights and everything else, now are coming out as victims. And really, let's ask yourself something, too. Let's ask these women that so-called victims of Harvey Weinstein. Is it harder to get down on your knees and give a blowjob, or is it harder to work in theater for 10 or 20 years and maybe get a part in some movie at some point in time based on your talent alone? How many of these people took the easy road to get their fame, knowing full well if they sexually prostituted themselves in the right moment that they would get their names in light, that they would get their Golden Globe and their Oscar? All right? It was none other than Meryl Streep herself who refers to Harvey Weinstein as God. Everyone knew this in Hollywood. So this whole thing is garbage. This whole thing has been set up for years, if not decades. So I have zero sympathy. No, I have the opposite. I have nothing but contempt for all these creatures, these women that are coming out, Rose McGowan and all these characters that are coming out and throwing this crap and claiming that they're victims. You guys are scumbags. You sold out a long time ago. Nobody should be supporting you. And you're pushing this movement on women to divide and conquer by and large and turn women against men and turn women into the force of destruction that the Women's March and all this crap is happening. So anyways, I had to rant a little bit on that. But as you see, time's up, right? Time's up, Lauds. It's like the same thing. Binge post, Variety, Harvey Weinstein trial, Annabelle Sciorra testifies, right? Time's up is changing Hollywood's landscape. You know what? A nice little asteroid could change Hollywood's landscape for the better for all of humanity. Whoops, a tactical nuke just went off. What? It hit Hollywood? Oh my God, how should we ever recover? What, you mean we don't get to watch these horrible brainwashing films from the New World Order and that target your children and program them into all kinds of garbage? Right? Time's up changing Hollywood's landscape. Sundance, SX with the X symbol, SX, SW, and major film festivals agree. Time's up. Right? Time's up, time's up, time's up. And again, with their symbolism, the one-eye symbol, time's up making progress, slow progress. Oprah Winfrey has dropped her Apple Plus documentary, her own. Oh, Oprah. And her own. Anyway, so that gives you an idea, of how this all comes together, right? The symbolism of the Doomsday Clock, the symbolism of and then they got the time's up. You've also got the TikTok whole thing here. I looked up TikTok. TikTok. Doomsday Clock nears midnight. Tree hugger. Tree hugger. You wonder what the trees would think of these tree huggers anyways. They'd probably be, disgusting. Get that soy boy off me. Get that soy boy off me. I don't know. Anyways, tree hugger. And then Chicago-based Doomsday Clock creeps closer to midnight. TikTok. There's still enough time. There's still enough time. No, the extinction's coming. Extinction Rebellion. TikTok, a tale for two. Nintendo Life. Isn't that interesting? It's rare that a game comes along that actually requires strict communication between players. But that's exactly what TikTok, A Tale for Two does. It's rare that this is a game that actually gets you to engage in communicating with other human beings. Israeli military facing backlash after introducing its TikTok. Well, let's just see what this is. Isn't that interesting? No coincidence here, folks. There you go. Israeli Defense Forces, IDF. TikTok. Boom. Well, I wonder what's coming, folks. I wonder. Israeli Defense Forces tweeted about their new TikTok with a bomb joke. So here it is. Israeli military forces facing a blowback on Twitter after introducing its new TikTok account with the tweet, TikTok, boom. What does the video show? Oh my God. That's just awful. Is that what music is like today? Oh my God. It's so. What is this guy doing? He's running around. He doesn't have a helmet on, and he's like hiding behind these things. What the hell? The sub-users praised the tweet, which was paired with a TikTok video of Israeli Defense Forces, a soldier firing his gun at range. One reply approved of the tweet, and the military's social media presence generally saying it was a lure for anti-Semites who need blocking. Gosh. Another posted a meme with Israeli fighter jets and a caption saying, Jews, not so easy to F with anymore. The majority of replies were critical of the IDF's choice. One user described themselves as Jewish in their Twitter bio, decried the bomb joke tweet. Here's Ariel Keshet, who, uses the triple parentheses here. I really rather you weren't on TikTok. I know most of your soldiers are young adults, but this is just ensuring diaspora Jews are going to get the brunt of criticism for this. Did you hit a journalist when you were aiming? Do they even exist? When you were aiming that? Asked one user referring to the United Nations finding that the IDF fatally shot 2 Palestinian journalists in 2018. Another said, gonna post an epic war crime, referring to recently launched investigation by the International Criminal Court into alleged crimes committed by the Western Bank and Gaza Strip. And then they got Iran bleeding in the Middle East here. Terror here. In 2019, the account posted a tweet implying that all Iranian children... Oh, that's what it was. I was wondering what that is. It's the womb. That all Iranian children are terrorists, prompting widespread criticism and calls for Twitter administrators to remove the tweet. The IDF social media office has been previously criticized for what the Jerusalem Post referred to as social media misfires. The newspaper cited a 2019 tweet employing the hashtag #JihadEnough to mark the assassination of Bahu Abu al-Atta. Another al-Baghdadi, I imagine. All right, so anyways, that's interesting, though. Isn't that interesting? Because you wonder who's behind the TikTok thing, right? And why it's being pushed everywhere. So, yeah, that's, of course, we talked about that with the Extinction Rebellion and the Time's Up and the whole TikTok, of course, the so-called Chinese corporation social media thing. And you see all the deals, all the stories here dealing with TikTok. TikTok inks licensing deal with Merlin, interesting, to use music from TikTok, reportedly on the hunt for U.S.-based CEO. Authorities warn of TikTok's outlet challenge causing fires. Outlet challenge. China's video sharing app TikTok expands to CC, Culver City. Yeah. What is TikTok's renegade challenge? All about viral, right? These TikTok stars reveal how their goofy videos, their narcissism, how teens are getting rich from TikTok. So TikTok, with that sort of symbolism here, with the flames, if you look it up in the images here, you can see the TikTok symbolism. Again, I used it for the cover screen for this particular show here, just to show you again. There you go. All right, so I'm trying to piece all these things together and show folks that the Time's Up TikTok, the clock symbolism is everywhere these days, and that they're counting down, and they're bringing the clock closer to midnight, which is what these sick people do on a daily basis. Okay, so now we're going to get into what else did I want to... Oh, yeah, I should mention it is the year of the rat. That's kind of interesting for Chinese New Year. Now, why do I mention the year of the rat? Well, when you think about plagues, right? There are certain things about the bubonic plague, for instance, right? I'll just put that into it. Hey, Jamie, look that up. All right, so we'll just put this in. We'll put rats plague, right? So, yeah. Plague rats, right? Like so many of the major sort of plagues, rats played a huge role in dispersing the plague. It is known amongst, and again, when it comes to, there's certain people that didn't seem to get the plague. In medieval Europe, for instance, when the bubonic plague came out, there's a group of people you're not allowed to talk about that didn't seem to die of the plague. But that's probably, there's probably nothing there to think about with that. Of course, the aristocrats didn't seem to get the plague either. It was usually the poor people, the common people. And but rats played a pretty big part in plagues. And so it being the year of the rat, it's kind of interesting. It's something to think about And again, these years are, there's a 12-year cycle to the Chinese New Year. So there's like year of the pig, year of the chicken, or whatever. I don't know all the years, but this is the year of the rat. So when I thought about that, I was just thinking, that's interesting. That's interesting. Just because I made that connection, right, with the plague and the Chinese virus. So if you think Chinese virus, the coronavirus coming out of China, Chinese New Year, the rat being the year, kind of fits into that narrative. Nonetheless, so interesting that it's this particular year. Now, one thing I noticed too is the game Overwatch, where they released their Chinese New Year skins. They had the scientist with the Kali sort of mask here. So this is a character called Moira in the game Overwatch, and her skin for this year. So she's the scientist, right? So, the theme about science, we're showing the Doomsday Clock, and it's that when they said they formed the Doomsday Clock, it was scientific and technological advances that were going to destroy the world. So Overwatch, if you look in the symbolism of Overwatch, I'll just show you here. It's very similar, isn't it? It's always the same, though, isn't it? It's always the same. The symbol is, of course, as above, so below. Again and again, they use the same symbolism for all of these games. In fact, when you look at the Overwatch logo here, you see the here and there, as above, so below. The same symbols that we're showing you over and over again with the hourglass and the time's up and everything else. So I thought it was interesting and worth noting that their scientific character has the Kali sort of death mask, destruction and death. So not to freak people out, but it is something to throw in there. So it is the year of the rat. And of course, we've got this plague that I haven't really touched on yet here, which is the, and I did a video on it yesterday talking about the coronavirus and the predictive programming in the film Terminator. Interesting, too, with the Terminator Dark Fate. These movies, they're not movies anymore. It's not a movie, all right? It's not a movie. Right? If you go to the movies, no, it's not a movie. Did you go to your mind control? That's better. Yeah, that's all right. These things aren't movies anymore. It's not like somebody came up with a cool idea and some other people contributed. No, this is Hollywood. Hollywood, everything is New World Order. Couldn't help but notice with the Terminator Dark Fate, the sun symbolism, which this is what the corona is, by the way. It's like the outer sort of light coming out of the sun. So it's interesting that the Dark Fate has the massive sort of sun symbolism in the poster. What I talked about in my video was how the Corona beer was put in a massive predictive programming. There was 2 scenes involving Corona beer back to back, and they really emphasized the beer with the lime and everything. And they gave the beer to everyone sort of thing, like everyone was going to get the plague kind of thing. The film is abominable. It is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And you have now the men are taken over by women. This is an enhanced transgender type character here, the main sort of cyborg character that they have. And the little Mexican girl is the sweet little Mexican innocent lamb who's trying to get over the border, of course, and the horrible borders and the border guards and the drones and everything else, and the broken families and the children in cages and all that crap. And so there's so much in this hideous New World Order film that you don't want to watch it, but it is certainly interesting to see all that symbolism. So anyways, I went into that in the video. You need to watch the video. I'm not going to go through it now. I just wanted to point out the corona, the sun symbolism with the video itself. So where were we going to go? Yeah, the virus here, the corona in China, which the purple here that they're using for this particular one. How worried should we be? It's more like, how dumb should we be? Please tell us how to think. How should you think? Think for us. No, you shouldn't think. You shouldn't think at all. Our package is safe. Another unanswered question. Thousands of people at Wuhan hospitals. Virus triggers Shanghai face mask shortage. No, really, it's your poop that most of these diseases are transmitted by. So it's not really sneezing and all that. It's people not cleaning their hands properly. So one of the things that, just in case there is an actual outbreak and it's not like the Ebola, it's totally staged and all that, is just practice really good hand washing and maybe wear gloves in public and stuff like that. That might be a better policy than putting on the face mask and all that crap, because you look silly too at the same time. Isn't it interesting? Killer Plague game tops the charts. We'll open that up. I have this game and never played it, but I can't help but notice all the games that they put out dealing with plagues and viruses. I talk about it a lot of times. Of course, talked in length about games like The Last of Us and many other games that are available on your consoles, AAA games that feature dystopic, destructed, future massively depopulated dystopia. And here's a game called Killer Plague, and it tops the charts. I mean, like, it's irrelevant in the sense that it's whatever they want to top the charts is what tops. It's like saying Taylor Swift topped the charts today. It's like she actually accomplished something. Like she actually had anything to do with that other than being a shill and an actor for the New World Order, right? It's whatever they want. So if they want you to be programmed by this coronavirus, they're going to make sure that everywhere you go, you're going to get this. So just like I'm saying with the Doomsday and the Time's Up and the Extinction Rebellion and all the symbolism that you see everywhere, right? They are massively gaslighting humanity. Like they are massively gaslighting humanity. Most humans don't realize that they're being gaslighted. So gaslighting is a form of kind of like terrorizing somebody without them, and then making them think that it's all in their mind, like that you're actually just crazy, right? So like normalizing mental illness, like if you pay attention to the media, if you got a Disney account or whatever, and you're reading the Disney media, or you're watching CNN every day, you're reading the New York Times, you're being terrorized by your media, by the fake news, basically, by the manufactured New World Order news. And so you put on your computer, you play your video games, you're being terrorized by the New World Order everywhere you look. And then people are becoming depressed, and they want that. They want people to give up. They want people not to engage in traditional lifestyles. Like all this stuff is massively used to program people. So an app that tasks users with spreading a deadly virus. Who made this app? Can we arrest these people? Who made the app? Who makes a game in which you're tasked with spreading a deadly virus? Who makes the type of game? Who are these people? I want to know who they are. Why aren't they arrested? Why do people get to make this type of stuff? Like, why are people like me always losing their channels and being censored, not allowed to monetize or do anything? And then there's people like this who get #1 on trending, who make games in which you are supposed to help spread the plague. What kind of sickos want to play a game in which you're trying to wipe out humanity? What kind of sickos would come up with a game that would feature that theme? An app that tasks users with spreading a deadly virus. Who? Who makes this app? Who is responsible for it? Why aren't they arrested? Why do we allow this type of crap to proliferate? And not only proliferate, but trend. So on Wednesday, 8 years after the release, the game that became a best-selling app in China, some players have suggested people were downloading the game as a way to cope with fears. It's just so dumb. Hey guys, let's cope with the fears of the coronavirus by downloading the game in which you spread the virus around the world. Try to kill as many people as possible. That'll help you deal with the trauma of the coronavirus. I mean, you do need a mallet at this point. You read the BBC, it's just, maybe you don't need the mallet. Maybe you're so brain dead by this point in time. But for me, I need a mallet 500 times a day. There's no way this makes any sense. What? Is he going to play a game that's about spreading a deadly virus and wiping out most of humanity because you're playing that because somehow you want to get over the fear porn of the current virus? Anyways, developer, now we got our UK-based Nademic Creations. I'm surprised not a CCC. The strategy game Plague Incorporated puts the user in control of a disease they must develop into a global pandemic before the scientific community can develop a cure. Do you remember there's a show out there? It's called The Big Bang Theory. Not sure who makes it. Probably people you're not allowed to talk about. And they joked about Ebola, and they joked about weaponizing Ebola to like kill as many people as possible, sort of thing, and spreading this deadly virus. Do you remember that? I showed that way back during the Ebola. I remember the girl saying, that would be pretty evil. Who do you know that's a fan of the show Big Bang? Do you think that person that's a friend of yours or somebody you know that's a fan of the Big Bang should be bitch slapped a few hundred times just to like say you are actually a fan of people that don't like you very much and want to probably depopulate your ass? Anyways, I digress. The overall aim is to bring about the end of humanity. Now, I feel like finding these people, like seriously, YouTube community, who makes games like this? Why would you make a game like this? What kind of a sick mind would want to make a game that would wipe out the human population? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So on Wednesday, Endemic Creations tweeted it had been receiving a lot of questions regarding the coronavirus outbreak and directed users to the World Health Organization's website. Oh, how magnanimous of them. You make a game in which your objectives are to wipe out the human race with some sort of bioweapon plague. And now there's a plague and you're like, okay guys, just go over to the WHO. Over to the WHO. The game has been downloaded more than 120 million times. That's insane. 120 million? How many games have ever even come near that type of number? I remember covering way back when that the Grand Theft Auto 5 had sold 65 million copies, and that made it one of the top 3 selling video games of all time. So this video game, according to the BBC, is downloaded almost twice as many times as Grand Theft Auto. Pretty sick people, I would say. One user of the Chinese social media platform Weibo said the best way to eliminate fear is to look it straight in the face. Well, I mean, yeah, in a way, but I mean, come on, seriously, you think playing a game? I mean, look, what does that do? I mean, you're playing it, and then how to do a quarantine a city, and how does it work? Well, here's what you might be seeing come into your town. If you've seen the movies, Contagion, Outbreak, right? There's a whole bunch of movies. Those ones are really important to watch. Well, I mean, if you want to see the predictive programming and some of the stuff that potentially would likely come down. The Contagion film is terrible, but it shows the CDC and depicts them as these tireless sort of super scientists who deprive themselves of sleep and work tirelessly and run from town to town, and race through traffic trying to save as many humans as possible. I'm sure it's very legit. Very kosher, I imagine. Anyways, you see an idea of the type of police state that could be set up. Thermal scanners detect temperatures of passengers inside the Hanakoi station. Do you remember the movie? It just made me think of the movie there. Get Your Ass to Mars. What's that one called? Total Recall. So maybe I'll put that in here, and I'll put Total Recall scan. Yeah, this is this is what it reminded me of. The scene here where the people are walking through the body scan, because of course your movies are always showing you what's to come, right? So Total Recall depicts a future where the populations are completely disarmed, and you see that the people that walk through this is just going through the metro basically in Total Recall, which again is a great film. You want to see a really fun sort of sci-fi thriller, check it out. You haven't seen it. It's the same guy that made RoboCop, not sure his tribe. But yeah, you see this depicts kind of a potential of what you're going to see in the very near future, because once they set these things in place, they'll never dismantle them. So once the body scanners and the retina scanners and the whatever scanners are in place because of said plague, for instance, at airport, they'll stay there just in case for the next one. This is the way these things work. So they can create one of these events, whether it be completely concocted or actually a real sort of bioweapon sort of thing, or you want to believe it, you want to whack your head with a mallet, it's an actual outbreak, a legitimate grassroots outbreak. But the result could be, in many ways, a total sort of crackdown on everything here. Where were we? I'm on the wrong page now. There it is. Yeah. Where you're going to have these checkpoints everywhere. And this is what's happening with airports anyways. I showed it back when the Ebola was happening. So let's show you the Ebola scan. Yeah. So I showed this, and one of the crazy things that they were doing was this at airports. So I talked about this in length because they were always using, black men in green shirts. There was the whole green sort of programming that I was exposing to the world. But you hold a gun up to somebody's forehead, basically. Now, ostensibly, this is to read their temperature and determine if they might have the plague, for instance. But think of the psychological sort of effect of this, which undoubtedly plays a huge role in why they use it. Because here you are, you're walking through the airport, you're treated like you are a potential terrorist, and you're having a gun held to your head. Now, it's not technically a gun, right? But it's only one step away. And it's like, again, just the New World Order, here putting a gun to your head. It's nuts, eh? It's pretty nuts. Again, don't worry, guys. You'll be safe. Morally safer. That's what you're going to be. Morally safer. You're going to go through airports, and you're going to have people, and the hazmat suits, again, too, with the Ebola. I'll just put the hazmat. We'll just put hazmat. Get an idea. This it's a form of terror as well, right? Because you dehumanize people. Like, people that are in these things, there's no humanity coming through. You can't see them. You can't see their faces. You can't even see their eyes most of the time. You just get the right? I mean, that's what you would have. You'd have some sort of just somebody screaming at you as you're walking through, right? This is the type of shit that you're gonna see in your neighborhood. Remember E.T.? Didn't they do that in E.T.? I wonder who made that movie. But that's a form of terror, right? And in E.T., if I recall, and I saw that when I was a little kid, right? So if I recall correctly, I only saw it once, but it was pretty terrifying for the kids, and because all of a sudden the government comes in, right? The government comes in, and it's like they seal the house off, and then they got all the guys in the hazmat, and it's very intimidating. That's a thing to point out about the intimidation level with these sorts of exercises on humanity. So it's a very interesting sort of development. Notice the purple too, again, with the coronavirus here. I say the purple is the coding, it's the color of the New World Order. And then they have Wuhan here showing all the different branches. So this is the town that they apparently have quarantined at this point. And then they got the Huanan seafood market, which the foods. And then if it spreads to animals, look out. Because like with the H1N1 and the avian flu, where they start massacring tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of chickens around the world and stuff like that. Like, hey, your chicken looks sick. No, he's fine. He's okay. That chicken looks sick. I'm sorry. It's just terrible. Imagine you have a little farm. You're off the grid. You got a little farm. The government shows up in hazmat suits and decides to slaughter all your chickens. Woo! Don't worry. We left you some. Don't worry. We left you some food stamps. You can go get your Soylent Green. We left you a crate of Soylent Green there. We know you don't have any chickens anymore. We killed your pigs too. It's pretty scary stuff, folks. Can wearing masks stop the spread of viruses? And again, wearing the mask, again, is another form of dehumanization. In places like China, it's already normal for a lot of people to wear masks. ostensibly that's for the smog and stuff like that, but it also is a total dehumanizing thing because you don't see someone's face, you don't see them smiling, you take away their humanity, right? It's much like the ID system where you're not allowed to smile when they take your driver's license or they take your whatever it might be, right? Your photo ID. It might even be for your library or something like that. They always say you can't smile. And it's like, well, what do you mean you can't smile? Why can't you smile? That's what I am. I walk around with a smile on. No, you're not allowed to smile because the smile might interfere with the accuracy of the photo sort of ID recognition and all that crap. But I imagine the photo recognition is so advanced at this point in time that it wouldn't matter what you did. It's getting to that point. But as you see, again, workers spraying all these areas, and it gives a general sense. Like always what happens, folks, is the Hegelian dialectic, which is the transfer of power, where the government says, I'll give you an example too. When I was covering the Ebola, they had a real problem in the Congo and in Monrovia, Liberia, and places like that because people didn't believe the government. People think the government's full of crap. So they put out all this sort of Ebola is real, protect yourself. And they would put it everywhere in all these cities. Ebola is real. They take photos like this too. It's just completely staged. You see this? Oh my God, this Africans died of Ebola. It's terrible. It's just an actor. That's all it is. It's just bullshit. Oh, you see this? Oh, you're convinced that there's a dead body. You're an idiot. That's all. You believe your Disney media. I'm not saying that people don't die occasionally of some of these things. I'm just telling you that the government here, everywhere, all over Liberia especially, we're putting out so much propaganda trying to convince Liberians that Ebola is real because nobody trusts the government. I wonder why. And then they find the government are dumping all kinds of formaldehyde into local public drinking wells. Formaldehyde, of course, causing the exact same symptoms that Ebola causes. This is all true. I showed all this way back in 2014 when the whole Ebola thing was happening. So the whole message here was Ebola is real. Protect yourself. They even put out a song, right? Ebola is real, protect yourself. They put out a song in Monrovia, and they made it the #1 song. Ebola is real, protect yourself. Ebola is real, protect yourself. Ebola is real, protect yourself. Of course, protect yourself means give your power to the government. Everywhere you go, let's prevent the spread of Ebola, right? Facts about Ebola. And I'll tell you, the people there did not buy it for a microsecond. People just said the government's full of lies. It was so funny. It was covering. They had the Ebola and the monkey meat, and they had the Vice, the black and white Shane Smith 33, the Freemasonic Disney media called Vice, and they were going around interviewing all these people, and the people were laughing because they were saying, "Are you worried about Ebola?" And they were like, "It's bullshit, government full of lies." Good for the people there. So the government had to go to such extremes to try to convince people that Ebola is real. Protect yourself, protect your family. Protect yourself, protect your family is basically do what the government tells you. Do everything the government tells you. The government tells you to kill your chickens, you kill your chickens, right? The government tells you to burn down your shack, you burn down your shack. That's what they were doing in a lot of places. They would come in and claim that somebody was dying of Ebola, and they burn down the village, basically. They would do this type of stuff, right? And we showed how much fakery was going on, not just here in North America with Thomas Eric Duncan and his green shirts and all that bull crap, but also with Liberia itself and how many stage incidents they had. They even had one here. It was one of the funniest things ever. It was the head of the CDC. I think it was, what's his name? Is it Messner? Ebola, man comes back to life. It was so utterly scripted. One of the most ludicrous things in the history of the world was this guy here. Okay. Now, they had this guy, and you're like, okay, what is he? He's a reporter, right? He's a reporter. He's reporting. Now, this would be stupid if he was just a reporter, where the Ebola hazmat people were dealing with apparently a street person who died of Ebola. And they were moving this corpse around. All of a sudden, he came back to life. And then this guy's like, he's not dead. He's not dead. He's still alive. He's still alive. Well, this guy is Richard Besser. Do you know who Richard Besser is? You probably want to know this. Like, if you don't look at who runs your media and what they're up to, you should probably know who these people are. So you saw him there, right? There he is. We'll just click on the video, bring him up. ABC News.
Here in the street of Monrovia, there's a body here. Maybe Ebola, maybe something else. But the burial team has come. They're busy spraying down the area where the person is. They're going to wrap in plastic and take away. But I was talking to someone in the community, and they had someone sick here yesterday. They didn't think it was Ebola. They thought it was something else, and they called for help, and no one came. They called again, and no one came. And not until he died, a 37-year-old man, not until he died did they come. And then they called, and within 1 hour, the burial team is here. This is a place right now where if you die of Ebola, they're very quick for you. If you're living and you need help, there's really nowhere to go. He's not dead. He's not dead. They were wrapping him up to take him away, but he's alive.
So who the fuck is this guy, right? Why would you watch the media and not think about that? I don't understand. Well, because you're dumb, right? I'm not saying, obviously my audience is not dumb, but I'm saying, why do people not question who this guy is? So then you look and it's like Richard Besser. And it's like, okay, let's go check him out. The director of the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. He's the director. He's the acting director of the CDC. Now, wait a second. Why is he on an ABC News thing? And why is he on the street standing feet away from a guy that allegedly has Ebola? What the hell is going on? This is the director of the CDC? That's because your news is a script. That's all. That's why I'm the most censored guy in YouTube history, because I showed all of this stuff. I can show you hours worth of fake footage dealing with Ebola, the Ebola. But as you see, this is just another example of one of these characters who, you know, one day he's the director of the CDC, next day he's a reporter on ABC. And, you know, and that's how it works. Right? It's unbelievable. So anyways, that's just a one of the very many things that happened during the Ebola. There's Thomas Air Duncan, the guy who had more names than shirts, and all his green shirt. This was the coding that they used for Ebola, with the black man in the green shirt, the Ebola being green, neon green, depicted as a deadly disease sort of thing. It's all set up, all staged. Here's the American doctor that they have. These people. Here's the Loch Ness Monster. Here's the Sasquatch. You know, that's what it is. It's what your media is. If you want to believe it, you know, it's your choice. I can't tell you what to believe. All right. So anyways, that's all very interesting. So while you've got the whole Trump bread and circus sort of three-ring circus here going on, right? Democrats argue Trump abused power in 2020 edge. This is all just total distraction. And then on the CBC, right, who says it's not declaring a new coronavirus as a global emergency, but it may become one. So they're setting the table for the whole thing to blow up into something huge. Virus has killed, how many people? 18,000? No, 18 people. 18. And has affected more than 600. And you could say the 666, whatever, right? But CNN, BBC, they're sticking with this. They've got the Finnish prime minister here, carbon neutral in 15 years, one country's ambitious plan. Anyways, it's all garbage. Very important to show that. Now let's get to the last thing I want to talk about before I get to the audience. Say hello to all the good folks watching the show. Hope you're all doing well, by the way. And we're keeping an eye on the whole coronavirus, obviously. The last story I want to take a look at here, where do I have it? Is the Betelgeuse here. So Betelgeuse being a massive star that's about to go supernova. And this is significant. If it happens like they say, it's going to be pretty significant. Now, space is not my forte by any stretch of the imagination, but the biggest celestial event of the year could happen tomorrow. And this is dealing with the constellation of Orion, right? And Betelgeuse being this massive planet that is a star that's so much bigger than our own star. In fact, you could fit the orbits of all the stars up to Jupiter in the circumference of Betelgeuse here. And they're saying that this thing could go supernova any minute now, basically. And what would happen? Well, I mean, I don't know what happened eventually here, if we would be directly affected, if we would get hit with massive sort of coronal ejections eventually, sort of thing. But what would happen in the night sky would be significant, because there would be an object in the night sky that would be as bright as a full moon, basically. So this is depicting almost like another massive sun in our, or at least a moon in our solar system. Sometime this week, you might be able to walk outside in broad daylight, look up in the sky, and see a luminous orb as bright as a full moon. Only it wouldn't be a moon, it would be something far more explosive, the dazzling aftermath of a cataclysmic hundreds of light years away. You'd be seeing the light from a supernova, the final power flash of a dying star. Or you might see the regular old sky. Supernovas are nearly impossible to predict, but astronomers have recently started discussing the rare possibility with a bit more enthusiasm than lately, thanks to some odd behavior elsewhere in the Milky Way. If the supernova did show up tomorrow, it would be the celestial event of the year, perhaps even the century, leaving a cosmic imprint in the sky for all to see. So in the night sky, the constellation of Orion is the most well-known, and this is Orion, like Orion Pictures, and the bull symbolism, and the Sirius, the dog star, all the symbolism that they put in the movies, the stargates, all these things revolve around the constellation of Orion, right? So this is a big deal. Even the movie Betelgeuse itself, right, has a lot of symbolism dealing with the constellations and their sort of New World Order. So yeah, for the last few months, though astronomers around the world have been particularly interested in the right shoulder, the home of the star called Betelgeuse, one of the brightest stars in the sky, Betelgeuse, which, yes, is pronounced Betelgeuse, has been dimming more than it ever had before. Astronomers have long known that Betelgeuse is aging and, like many old stars, is bound to explode sooner or later. Could this mystery dimming mean the supernova might be imminent? The view would be mind-boggling day or night. The Orion constellation can be seen nearly everywhere on Earth, which means nearly everyone could see the exploding star. It would easily cut through the artificial light pollution that prevents 80% of the world, a staggering 90% of the United States and Europe, from experiencing a clear view of the night sky. As predicted, the brightness of the Betelgeuse supernova could be standing in the center of a big city in the world, and you would certainly see it, says John Barentine, an astronomer and director of the public policy of the International Dark Sky Association. Dark Sky. These guys. Dark Sky. Dark Fate. Dark Fate. Of course, what they showed with the black hole sun, with the little Dicky and all that, which I showed, and Christopher, not Christopher Cantwell, but Christopher Cornell, 33, from Black Hole Sun, and all that symbolism as well, which features the corona as well, right? So the corona symbolism playing a big part. That's why I'm talking about this potentially as being some sort of harbinger of stuff to come, or part of their machinations. It's really hard to know. You couldn't miss it, so even more spectacular display would stick around. The gleaming orb would remain visible for more than a year, perhaps even longer. How strange it would be to witness day and night. Imagine that too. Like, imagine say this thing does happen like the way they say, like every night you're going to go out and there'll be like a full moon, basically, if you're facing the constellation of Orion, which most of the time, most of the planet is, sort of thing. So imagine that. Like, that's going to change a lot of things. So it is interesting to see that. What will the Betelgeuse, what will it look like, right? So they're showing this, how stars explode. This is all in the news, that this supernova may be imminent. So it's, to me, it kind of fits into the corona sort of symbolism that they're pushing everywhere. The sun symbolism that we see all the time. You know, again, with the sort of depictions of destruction and doom, many times featuring the sun, that the sun could let off some sort of coronal ejection that would fry the earth and stuff like that. And, you know, that solar flares themselves can take out just about everything, right? Like, they would wipe out transistors, and all humanity would come to a standstill, sort of thing. There's a lot of programming that features a complete chaotic breakdown of civilization. In many ways, The Walking Dead and stuff like that could be a depiction of a massive sort of EMP/solar event that would wipe out the power grid for most of humanity, or if not all of humanity. Well, maybe not the elites themselves. They're probably well prepared in their bunkers and all that. They can watch it all go down. But that would be a major event sort of happening, sort of thing. So we see a lot of that symbolism around. It's very hard to know, but you see how many articles are dealing with this in the Disney media. It's obviously a big deal in the scientific sort of community. So as you see, Betelgeuse here. Betelgeuse continued to dim. So gravitational wave detection, right? Again, it's supposed to be hundreds of light years away, so likely that its explosion itself would affect us directly. I don't know. Probably it would take a long time for it to hit us, but it would be visible instantly. So it's a symbol. And in a way, it's almost like having two suns for a period. It's really bizarre. Anyway, so I'll just leave it at that because I didn't want to get too deep into that. I could get into a lot dealing with Orion itself and how important this constellation is for the New World Order and how much symbolism is involving Orion. But it's really not my area of expertise, but you see a lot of this symbolism dealing with Orion. So Orion's a really big deal for the New World Order, right? It really is. It's so much of what they code to us. So anyways, I'll leave it at that. I'm gonna get to the chat, say hello to y'all, and hope you're all doing well. I hope you're having a good day despite the doomsday. Doomsday. Anyways, I'm going to switch my screen here. I'm going to get there to that. And we'll bring that up again and see what our folks up to. What's up, good folks? How you doing? We got 254 people watching at the moment. I hope you're all having a good day. So it's people mentioning Chris Cornell's. All Chris Cornell's songs are about ISIS, too. And that's very interesting, dealing with ISIS. We got Bendy Water. I love Bendy Water. It's such a great name. No flat earth. Yeah, anyways. Hey, Ro Jogan. That's a great name there. Gotta like that. Challenger crew is still alive. I don't doubt that either, by the way. Hey, Jeff. Awesome show. Thanks, Professional Gun. I appreciate that. Tom Brady is always in the news, eh? You make a TikTok. I don't know. I don't even know what it is, really. I've never really checked into it, but... Hey, Tears. Hey, Erica. Hi, Wake and Bake. He's smoking his own homegrown. Oh, that sounds good. That's the way to go, right? Don't buy the government stuff. Grow it yourself. That's good. Are you in Canada? I think you are, right? Rainbow Unicorn Land. Here in Quebec. See, I want to be able to grow pot eventually, but it's like, you know, it's kind of like, it's unknown because the Quebec government came out and said, no, you're not allowed to grow any plants. But then the federal government kind of struck that down, so it's up in the air. Anyways, I don't even smoke these days, really. Live streams have been growing. No doubt a small hat deletion isn't for me. Yeah, that's it, right? Whenever I start to get a bit of momentum, it's like, it's time to take Jeff Seed out again. He's got too many people listening. Yeah. The Watchmen and Chernobyl shows come out right before the Iran garbage. And yeah, the Chernobyl, again, I did a big thing breaking down the Chernobyl and the likelihood of some sort of catastrophe featuring sort of a nuclear power plant. And all the television shows and that depict this, there's a lot of them. Apparently, Fear the Walking Dead has a whole season kind of devoted to it, that a nuclear power plant blows up or something and kills everyone and stuff like that. You had the Chernobyl series on HBO. You have Dark, this HBO produced German show which features a time loop, a 33-year time loop underneath a nuclear power plant and some impending disaster of the nuclear power plant. And then you had the Pickering nuclear false alert. There's so many things dealing with that. So I did a whole show on that last week or 2 weeks ago, a couple of weeks, when the whole Pickering thing came. I think it was January the 9th. That was like 2 weeks ago or something like that. Jeffy, you smoke pot rarely these days, but I do like it. Jeff, are you 400 pounds? Yes, yeah, I'm 400 pounds. Imagine if I was. Holy crap. That would be, imagine you woke up and you were just 400 pounds. Oh, that would be so bad. You'd be like, oh, fuck. That'd be like the worst thing ever. You'd be like, what the hell? No, I'm 175-ish, around there. I got down to like 165 around when I was doing the restricted time diet. But now I'm about 175, I'd say. So, yeah. It's a far cry from 400. Oh my gosh, 400 pounds. Thanks for the laugh. I love that, though. 400 pounds. As soon as Jeff goes to chat, trolls start type. Yeah, that's fun. No, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right, though. Bendy Water. The name says it all. Bendy Water. Love it, though. What do you think of Max Egan's claims he was programmed by Wi-Fi? Yeah, I did mention all that. I don't want to have to go through it, but I'll briefly say Max Egan, fake name Max Egan, is full of SHIT. Yeah. And he's flip, flop. So first he came out. Well, first he said all the wildfires are being the government. I agree with that. I mean, I think the government and the New World Order is definitely creating and accelerating and exacerbating the wildfires without doubt. And they're strategically, this is in Australia, and I think the same in California, right? And they're strategically burning people out of zones. Yes, I agree with all that. But then he came out and said the earth is flat, and he had this download, and he realized that all weather is manipulated, all of it's created in the machines and all this crap. He just said all this stupid stuff. And then he comes out and he says, so I got your attention there. That was the whole point of the exercise. Yeah. I wanted to get everyone's attention. I want to get the flat earthers and the round earthers and the cube earthers and the pretzel earthers and all the different people together, because I have this message to tell you that the truth movement is a trap. Then he comes out the day later and he says, oh, the government fried my brain. He said the government was, like, the guy is just, he's a complete liar. That's all. He's a liar. I mean, come on, seriously. He's a liar. He's just, I don't know. He's changing his story, and he's just flopping about like a fish out of water, trying desperately to hang on to any credibility. But it doesn't matter. He's got a big following. You know, people are dumb. Max gives them the show that they want, I guess. I don't know. But I'd never trust that guy. Ever. I never did anyways. So there you go. That's my feeling. I'm not a fan of Max at all. And his name is fake, by the way. So anyways, what does that mean? Watchmen season 2 is not happening. They got their message out. Yeah, exactly. That's probably all part of it. Probably was never meant to happen. It was just I saw the first episode and it was so awful. I was like, oh my god. And it started off with the Tulsi riots, so they're trying to re-traumatize blacks about white supremacism, and they're showing all this white on black violence, and then it flips to the future or this alternative future where the police are disarmed, but they're all wearing face masks to keep their anonymity, and there's like a black sort of superhero chick who's hunting down the neo-Nazis, and the neo-Nazis are funded by some, I guess, billionaire guy played by Jeremy Irons, not sure the tribe. And then they show a scene where they basically torturing white supremacists to get information from them, and it's justified because of the level. And the white supremacists have massive amounts of guns. They have like these mounted machine guns and stuff like that, and they're ripping. So it's all set, and I saw that, and I was just like, this is awful, because I know exactly who makes those films and what they're trying to do, because they want you to think that white supremacy is like a serious problem, and that most of the terrorists these days are white supremacists, and it's absolute garbage. It's all theatrics, right? They just want you to hate white people because that's the majority, and it's the way that they control us. So I hated the show. I hated every minute of it. I watched the original Watchmen movie, and I had seen the comic book sort of thing, so I knew about the original Watchmen, which didn't have those agendas slammed into them at the point that they're at. So anyways, new transgender Bond named Mike Oxlong. What's up with TikTok? Seen it a lot these last 2 days. Yeah, I think that's all dealing with time's up, TikTok, Doomsday Clock. I'm just saying all their symbolism around is like a countdown to doom. So something, I guess, is coming. Something wicked this way comes. I'm knocking on wood. I don't want anything bad to happen, but it seems like they're counting down stuff, and that's the New World Order. So I showed that all today, dealing with it. So you might want to go back if you just tune in now to catch the whole show, because I kind of tied all those things together. Hey Jeff, is the pretzel earth salted or plain? I don't know. I've had a lot of, I'm of the candy cone, and because like my whole thing was like, was the earth a regular, because like I believe the earth is in a giant ice cream cone, and that we're melting the ice cream. So the earth is ice cream. It's made out of ice cream, and we're melting it. So, but the whole debate that I had was whether it was a regular cone or a candy cone. And through my observations, I think it's actually a candy cone that we're sitting on top of. So that's my answer. That's from my Dr. Uranus Brown. Aussies are so dumb they have to adapt the things. The first thing the TV says, it's an island, they have to believe what they're told. Well, it's a continent, but I mean, anybody that listens to their telly is nuts, because they're under mind control. That doesn't mean everything your telly tells you is fake. The thing is that your telly lies to you all day long and has lied to you for decades on end, ever since it's been around. And if you're going to trust some sociopathic, psychopathic sort of entity to give you the actual truth about what's going on, you're nuts. You are bona fide nuts. So people that watch television are by definition crazy, because they can't really deduce. And again, what are you supposed to know? I mean, are you going to know what's going on? You're not going to know what's going on necessarily by doing the type of work that I do. I'm not here to tell you exactly what's going on. I'm more here to show you how the media manipulates the masses. That's my forte. So I don't pretend to know all the answers about what's going on. Yeah, I'm not going to address any flat earth crap, because that's just a psyop. That's all. It's gonna come. Every truth type of show will have the agents show up, and they'll push the flat earth stuff. Flat earth, flat earth, flat earth. And then they'll it's like sticking turds in everything, and they try to divert the conversation. It's just a basic 101 tactics that are used. So just don't even bother. It's not going to happen. He's sick and don't make fun. Oh no, climate change is melting the ice cream earth. Yeah, that's it. He showed that because I was looking. That's going back to Dr. Uranus Brown videos. But anyways, the show Carnival Row is the same thing, 100 times more ham-fisted. Yeah, I don't. Not familiar with that one. Yeah, it's there's so much. If ice is melting, it's on purpose to get oil and other reasons. Yeah. A lens actually. Camille did a pretty good video on that on Please Stop the Riot, where she's like talking about how they're using all these icebreakers and they're using submarines to break up the Arctic ice. And it's like they want that oil that's up there. Like they really want it. That's why Russia's planting flags on the. They're actually showing, NASA's putting out reports showing that the ice, the Arctic ice is actually growing in many regions, and that a lot of the glaciers are actually recovering. But they don't tell you that stuff on Greta Vision or whatever. Your telly's not going to tell you any real facts. They're just going to tell you what they want you to believe so that you work as an instrument to bring in the New World Order. That's what television basically is. It's to program you into bringing in their New World Order. That's all. It's that simple. Right? So, they want everyone to get a dark conscience. Has to do with their Luciferian doom cult religion, Kabbalah, New Age. Yeah, exactly. Shia. That's how it works, right? And that's why the youth are programmed into the narcissism and the sexual deviancy and the nihilism and the right painting your faces and all that crap, because it's all about just turning you into more of what they are, right? Just turning you rotten, making you embrace Satan. It's like people go around making the devil horns all the time, right? Like people just do what monkey see monkey do. They think it's cool and they just do it, right? People are programmed. So television is that method. Bible also says women come from men's ribs. What's your point? Okay, yeah, I'm not going to get into a religious debate. I don't think that's for me. Check the Sims 4 tiny living trailer for your Agenda 21 programming. Community is full of LGBTQ and SWXYZ, as well as 90% of the Sims YouTubers are gay. Also, the video shows us back then. Yeah, when you say that, imagine, I thought instantly of Taylor Swift. And I think it was called Get Over Yourself or something like that. And it was a video in which she was in a community, and it was like this artificial community where everyone had their own little rainbow sort of trailer. It was like a trailer park, and everything was fake. Like the grass was fake. Like people were watering, and they're all trannies. Like everybody in the video was basically a tranny, except for me. Well, I don't know. People say Taylor's a tranny, so maybe she's a tranny too. They were all trannies. And they all had rainbows, and they were all living in their little huts by themselves and sunning themselves and painting their faces and watering their fake grass. And it was like, get over it. And then they showed a bunch of white people, and the white people were all extremely ugly, had bad hair, bad teeth, and everything. And they were angry. They were angry at the trannies because the trannies were winning. And so the white people are obviously the terrible people. It's just, you need to get that mallet out. If you want to enjoy this stuff, just pull out a mallet, start whacking. It starts to, all of a sudden, put Taylor Swift on. Do you have Taylor Swift's new album? If you came in my home and you said that, I'd throw you out. I would physically pick you up and throw you. I'd use your head to open the door. You just asked me if I have Taylor Swift's album. You just brought the rage. I love the live chats, Jesse. They're the best. Thanks, Patricia. Gaylord. I'm sure that's fun. Brian says, I'm thinking of moving out of the Americas to Canada because society, it seems a bit nicer up there. I know you guys have your own problems. But perhaps I'll meet you someday, Jeff. Yeah, probably not. I don't meet anybody because I had agents come after me, sort of thing. So I kind of have a policy of not meeting people. It's a sad, unfortunate thing. But yeah, Canada, whatever. Canada's New World Order. It's no different. It's just, in some ways it's worse. Some ways it's better. There's a lot more land up here. But of course, you know how they're doing with the land. They want to burn everybody out of those areas and put everybody in the high rises and Mississauga and all that. So it's the same. It's all one world. That's the way it seems these days. Anyways, nobody knows. It's beautiful though. I'll tell you that. Nobody knows what we live on at the moment. Yeah. Jeff. So Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and Donald Duck and Daisy's duck and all could talk. Why is Pluto just a dog? Yeah. Good question. Pluto, and there's Goofy. Yeah, I don't know. There's probably some symbolism dealing with that. Pluto, Sirius, Dog Star, maybe? I don't know. It's hard to know. The etiquette we used to have in the USA, at least in the city, seems to be lacking. Maybe it's me just getting... No, it's lacking. It is, because they program people into being cretins and narcissists and, just people. I mean, just not good people. We're no longer raising people the way that they need to be raised. We don't have proper parenting these days. They're eradicating all that. People are brought up by their black mirrors. That's why kids today have a hard time holding a conversation. And that's why a lot of kids that you'll talk to are it's like they're in space or something, because they're just, their minds are elsewhere. Their brains are being zapped incessantly, right? And then they're like, oh, now I have to interact with a human being. This is awkward. Yeah, this is awkward. My black mirror didn't teach me this. It didn't teach me this. I gotta put on some gay porn. Sorry. Imagine when the brain chips are in. Imagine what the youth will be like. You'll be like trying to talk to them and they'll just be staring at you. They'll be like somewhere else, be on Pornhub or something, right? While you're talking to them. Yeah, if you check out the trailer, it lasts 1 minute, so in your face. Which trailer? Oh, you told me about that before. Yeah, I'll have to watch the trailer of that. Maybe you can send it to me on Twitter, and I don't know if you have Twitter. Oh, it's The Sims. Yeah, that's... drew a blank there. We're like, what was he talking about? Yeah, The Sims. That's it. The Sims. Yeah. The Sims. Okay, I'll tell you, my brother had The Sims on his computer. I don't know if it was the first or second one, but I made a character, because I can't play these games seriously. So I still remember what I did. I made my character. I called him William Shatner. And instead of building a house, I built this moat around a property, and I just put all my furniture on the property and my oven and all that. So I didn't even have a roof or a home or anything. And I had to swim to get into my house. I had to swim across the moat because I was just mocking the game. The game was so stupid. And in the end, what happened is my home, after a couple hours of, or maybe not even that long, but however long I played it, my home, basically everything caught on fire and burnt down. But the game is retarded because you're simulating your life, but it's really the New World Order that is programming you into how you should live your life. So it's normalizing everything that is bad for you, basically, including the Agenda 21 and, the gender confusion and everything else that they push. Canada's garbage. Canada's garbage. Stay there. Well, it's not. It's beautiful. Like, Canada physically is stunning. It's like it's just like the United States. Like, I mean, some places are just absolutely stunning. It's sparsely populated, right? So it's a beautiful country physically. And most of it's untouched. So just as a country, physically, it's stunning and it's lovely. But as a New World Order, sort of the big cities and all that, it's pretty much a done deal. So, although I would say, a city like Montreal is much better than 99% of the cities in the United States, because it's got culture and all that, great food, beautiful women, all that good stuff. But because you compare, say, Montreal to like Seattle, it's a joke, right? But anyways, I'm well beyond the city lifestyle. Even though I'm still stuck in a city, I don't want to live in the city because I want to just be somewhere beautiful. Anyways, who makes the laws in Canada? The Queen. Silly people. Well, the government itself, the House of Commons, the Senate. Most of Canada is unpopulated. Yeah. About 95% of it, really. Well, maybe it's maybe like 90%, but it's really, there's like, Quebec is crazy. Quebec is like, there's like 500,000 lakes and rivers in Quebec, and 95% of them are completely untouched. It's like, It's nuts. It's like there's so much resources, there's so much nature, there's so much forest. It's nuts. And Quebec is way bigger than any state outside of Alaska, right? Quebec is like twice the size of Texas, right? It's huge. Anyways, everything's bigger in Texas. New World Order is just different power structures together working to protect their assets, rich power. Yeah, kind of. It's a lot of different things. Hey Jeff, time's up. It's time to welcome our feminine overlords. I missed something there. Jeff, should I worry about this clock? Have I got it on the screen, by the way? Is it? What's going on here? What have I got on the screen? Yeah, okay, there you go. Should you worry about the clock? No, but what are you gonna do, right? I mean, whatever they're gonna do, they're gonna do it. They're not gonna be able to stop it. So, live your life and enjoy each day. That's my motto. But live your life. Live your life. Enjoy each day. Right? Because any day could be your last. You never know what could happen. So that's the basic sort of, I think that's a very sound philosophy. Don't watch television because it's awful. It's evil. And don't believe your newspapers and your media ever. And just strive to be the best that you can be and live the life to the fullest. That's my advice. Eat well, exercise, and live harmoniously with nature if you can. But yeah, I mean, the doomsday clock, I mean, what I'm going to tell you, right? Oh, they want you to be scared. They want you to think it's all going to end. So that's what they're doing. Yeah, so, Jeff, why do I feel like Donald Trump is just in office sitting there bored thinking about life? Yeah, probably. He's just an actor, right? I saw Grace's video. It was excellent there on Trump and the book that came out 100 years ago or whatever. And this is really crazy stuff. That Trump is potentially some time traveler and all this. But Trump is just, to me, is just an act, right? He's the ultimate polarizer. Like, you think about how they work it, then they bring in Obama. So Obama, all of a sudden, all the minorities embrace Obama. Obama just has this stately sort of, he's articulate, he's well-mannered, he's well-liked, he's and of course he's colored and all that. And they give you that, and then people buy into that fairy tale. And then all of a sudden, they give you the antithesis, right? So they give you the old boys club, the orange-faced ogre. He's white, he's a misogynist, he's racist, he's all these negative things. And he's just there to again divide and conquer. Like, divide and conquer. Everyone, you're either, like, unless you're of the people like us here, where we're aware of the whole game, at least to a certain level, you're going to fall into the left and right paradigm. You're either going to love Trump or you're going to hate him. That's how it works. There's very few people that are like, well, he's kind of this or that. And even those people would be controlled because they would buy into him as being some sort of legitimate figure who is actually not following a script and is not controlled, when he's clearly controlled and he's clearly following the script. So Trump is just there to be that ultimate polarizer, right? That and you see, well, without Trump there would be no Me Too, there'd be no Time's Up, there would be none of this stuff would fly the way it is if it was still, say, Obama, right, in power sort of thing. These things wouldn't take off because you wouldn't be able to say, oh, it's the old boys club and misogyny and the patriarchy runs and the white men still run everything kind of nonsense that they push, right? You wouldn't be able to push all that because you wouldn't have that person in power. So you'd be able to say, well, yeah, you say all that, but look, you got a black man as president, right? So Trump, in many ways, was installed to be that polarizer so that they could divide and conquer. Is he going to be the last president? That's an interesting thing, too, considering the whole impeachment saga that's going on. Well, possibly, because if time's up and they're counting down to something massive happening, that could be a game changer. you could see the destruction of the Republic of the United States potentially, right? And a lot of what they show us depicts a future without, presidents and stuff like that. And you have global food council like you would have with the United Nations. You'd have a global sort of structure hierarchy. You just have boroughs and stuff like that. So, anyways. The unpopulated lands is either Indian reservations owned by the Vatican or owned by the Queen. Yeah, kind of. The natives get a ton of land. But, you could argue either for or against that. To me, we're all victims of the New World Order. So it's like, going back hundreds of years, well, it's like you gave a piece of the Middle East to a certain group that claimed that they had, that should be their land sort of thing, when there's nothing remotely to back up that claim sort of thing. And then if we're going to do that, well, then where do we stop, right? Because then we go back and we say all peoples have been displaced over and over and over again. That's the history of the world. The history of the world is conquering nations coming in, conquering peoples. It's like like the UK, for instance. Like you had so many Norse invasions coming into that the peoples of the UK are of a very vastly different sort of thing than they were originally, right? In terms of genetic sort of heritage. So it's like, where do you go back? Where do you draw the line, right? When you're talking about we have to redress or redesign. So much of World War II, of course, with the Balfour Declaration and the whole, so much of World War II was just redrawing the lines, remapping the world, like redesigning the territories and stuff like that. And also, obviously, bringing in Israel. So Kojak's daughter is a singer. I just started a musical collective Postmodern Jukebox on YouTube. They do retro 20, 30, 40 covers. I'm not sure. I don't think that has to do with me. Canadians are being ethnic cleansed and genocide, unlike Chinese, yet none speak for them. Yes, in a sense. Well, the white people are, because you're not allowed to be proud of being white, and they're trying to push everybody into interracial breeding, which I have no problem with. I think, it's 2020, whatever, no problem whatsoever. But you can't go around, I show this all the time too. Like, it's like all these people call out white people. It's like I showed a tweet a few weeks ago where there's a Japanese woman calling out white people, for being white, basically. And I said, are you kidding me? I mean, if anybody knows anything about history in Asia, the Japanese are by far the most hated people ever. And for good reason, because they would come through and just, take over and subjugate people and brutally either kill them or rape them or whatever. And it's like, nobody has any claim. No one group can go around saying we're better than all of you. No one people can go around saying that, because it's not true. The history of slavery itself, I talk about that. The etymology of the term slave comes from Slavic people. So it's actually white people, really, where the term comes from. Slavery has nothing to do with blacks, other than it just happened to be black slaves that were used massively during the plantation era and the development of the southern economy in the United States. But who are running most of those ships, and who are dealing most of the slaves, and who are the black slave traders over in Africa? That was all glossed over. It's just white people bad. Blacks have been, terrorized by whites and all that, and that's just not true. Again, with this, the Civil War of the United States, most of the people that fought in the most of the whites that fought in the Civil War for the South were not at all. Like, very few of them owned plantations. Most of the ones that did own plantations or were from plantation farms were officers, and they were high up in the whole. Most of the grunts that fought and died and bled and whatever in savage conditions, and were eating at times in the war, the Civil War, which is so bloody and brutal. They were eating like grease, mixed with sawdust and grizzle and whatever they could put in, like to subsist. And they were put in huge concentration camps and all this crap. So most of the southern people were not slave owners at all. So these are the way that history depicts things is extremely the way that Hollywood depicts things is beyond inaccurate, and it's always with agendas in mind. So anyway, what am I going on about that? Slabs are cold as ice. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. A day in a life, a man will lead man to his own demise. It's always an attempt for one world empire. Yeah. Greek, Persian, Roman, British, Germany. One group of Indians in North Connecticut wanted to build a new casino, but Democrat Blumenthal blocked it because they are Republicans. Then that gives them special clauses to build. In the United States, most of the natives were wiped out. It's terrible. Like, there's no way I can, be in favor of anything that happens, but things happen, right? We've all been conquered at one point or time. All of our peoples have suffered. Everyone has suffered, right? You go back in your history and you'll find suffering on top of suffering. So it's like we're all here today. Can we just wipe the table and everyone could be equal? That's the way I see it. Just wipe the table. Everyone's equal. If you're going to come up with this term racism, then it has to be applied evenly. So if you're going to put out stuff saying white people have privilege, then you're a racist, right? Because you're lying. So yeah, some white people do. You're Ivy League or you're freaking, Skull and Bones or something like that. But most of us don't have any privilege whatsoever, and a lot of us come from very poor situations, and a lot of us now are massively suffering because of affirmative action and so many other things that make it so difficult for just a white male, for instance, to advance because everything's working against them. The feminism, all that crap. It's just divide and conquer over and over and over and over again, right? And it's always pitting the majority against, or the minorities against the majority. Cultural Marxism, all these methods that are used to deconstruct our foundation, our society. That's the thing. You look back on the founding fathers, you look back on the early presidents of the United States, you look back on the Constitution and the amendments that were put into the Constitution. The whole thing about the Constitution was to provide the framework for people so that they could live free of tyranny. That's why the United States is a beacon of light for the rest of humanity, because they set, and so many other governments subsequently tried to copy that because it seemed like such a beautiful thing to empower the people. Now, albeit there was a racist element to it because blacks did not have the citizenship and all that, so I'll put that aside. But I'm saying the Constitution was written by people who were determined to ensure that people remain freed of tyranny. And that's why it's so imperative in this day and age to defend the Constitution to a T, to a letter kind of thing. Like never, like with the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. I mean, that has to be applied to the letter. It can't ever be messed with. It has to be. And then again, with the people of office who take office, who swear an oath to the Constitution, you are swearing an oath to the Constitution. You're not swearing an oath to the banksters, the New World Order, or Greta Thunberg, or any of that crap. Right? Anyways, go on all day about that. Feminism is against men, not just white men. Yeah, exactly. It's against all men. They do the same thing with the blacks. I show this all the time, too, with the blacks. It's the exact same thing. It's awful what they do. They go in. There was a recent film, too, which is the Rambo series. I caught the new Rambo. It's unbelievable. You're like, isn't he geriatrics now or something? I don't know how old Stallone is. I imagine there's heavy doses of steroids in his diet. But there was a new Stallone movie that came out, and again, it's dealing with the Mexicans and the border and all that crap, pushing those agendas. But it depicted men in the most brutal way. Like, the Mexican men are the most cardboard men you would ever see. These people are, every single one of them was a psycho, brutally raping and, prostituting women. It's just, they're just evil. They're just pure evil. And it's showing men, universally men, as being the problem. So this new Rambo film is really a feminist film. It's really about feminism, because it's there to show you men are always trying to get the better of women, or always abusing women if they're allowed to, and stuff like that. It's quite an awful film, actually. It's got such gratuitous violence in it too. Like there's this massive payoff in the last half hour of the film where every one of these brutal sort of Mexican misogynist gangsters is brutally executed by Rambo in like some trap or something that he set up on his ranch. Really, this is the way your media works. Everything is a manipulation. Like every movie has. That's why I say movies aren't movies anymore. Like, not that movies ever were free of agendas, but it's like you watch the original Terminator, right? Like, look at the Terminator, for instance, right? You can go in and say, it's a good story. It's a simple story. It's an excellent action film. It's made on a shoestring budget, well, relative to what these movies are made today. And the pacing is excellent, and the tension is excellent in the film. And the story just works. It's simple. It just works. And what are the agendas, really, right? In many ways, it's procreation that saves the day, right? The original Terminator. Think about this, too. I'm just thinking about it now because I'm comparing and contrasting the new one. The original Terminator, humanity, there's a battle that happens in the future and between humanity and artificial intelligence. And humanity starts to win the battle. So in the future, 30 years or whatever in the future. So to change that, the AI makes a time portal that it can send back killers in order to kill the mother that's going to give birth to the future leader of humanity, who leads humanity from the slavery and from the AI. And so it's procreation in the film that saves humanity, right? I don't know if Cameron or who, I don't know, it was Cameron that did the original one. I think it was Cameron that did the original. I don't know if he thought of that as the theme, but it's very telling, right? Because it's a man and a woman come together, make a baby, basically, and that baby saves humanity, sort of thing. The new Terminator flips that completely. And so it makes no sense. None of the movie makes sense. So in the future, there's this Mexican family with this 4-foot tall little girl, right? This cute little Mexican girl who are for some reason, they're targeted by the Terminator. The new Terminators, the Super T-1894 models that have all this black goo in them and whatever else. And they come back and they target this Mexican girl for some reason, right? And then you're thinking, and so the humans of the future, and this is an alternative future. It's not the same as the Skynet because it's not Skynet. It's called Legion now. So it's like an alternative timeline. So the original John Connor was killed by an Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator at some point in time after the Terminator 2 film. They show this on a resort. Like he's on a resort with his mother, and then the Terminator just walks out of nowhere and shoots him, right? And that's it. So he's dead. But but that's not it, because that changes everything. And you could say, okay, whatever, that changes everything. And now in the future, the AI is called Legion, and they develop an even more advanced type of Terminator, and they send this Terminator back to kill this little Mexican chick. And it's like, well, why are they trying to kill this Mexican chick? Well, and she's just like this wimpy little girl, right? Like she can't do anything. And then the humans of the future, but they're not even humans anymore because they're like cyborgs, and they've merged, like Elon Musk says, with the AI and with the tech. And so there's women that they send back. Instead of sending a man, they send a woman, and it's a highly advanced sort of cyborg woman who has metal breastplates and whatever else, and is like 7 feet tall, or I don't know, she's super tall in the film and whatever. And so she's sent back to defend the little Mexican chick, and you're thinking, okay, why the little Mexican chick, right? Why? She's a wimpy little girl. She's just a typical little, teenage or 20-year-old Mexican girl, whatever. And it's like, what is she going to do? I guess she's going to have sex with a guy, and that baby is going to somehow save humanity, and they'll just recycle it. No, actually, because they come back, and then through the whole movie, eventually it's revealed, no, we're not saving you for your baby. It's you. It's the little 4-foot tall Mexican girl that's going to lead the revolution. The little wimpy, girl that could not, she couldn't beat up a toddler kind of thing. And she's going to be the leader of humanity that's going to rise up and defeat the Legion. So you just see, and then that excludes all the other agendas that are thrown in the film. But just that alone is so dumb. It's and the only reason that she became this is because they sent the Terminators back. So like none of it makes sense. So it's like this girl only became some sort of threat to Legion because, I mean, like they actually caused it by sending. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's like if you just left that thing alone, there's no way she'd just be on her smartphone and trying to cross the border and stuff like that. So it's just so dumb, and they have the whole border thing. So these movies are just so full of agendas, and they're a deconstruction of the family and deconstruction of so much. So, anyways, I just went on for like 20 minutes. Do you know about the short story by Harlan Ellison, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream? I always saw parallels in that story to the AI Legion. No, I don't know. Harlan Ellison, I Have No Mouth. Is that like is an old classic sci-fi? I'm not sure. Anyways, She-mail. The agendas are dumb. Yeah, they are, but they're there, right? They're over again and again. Lucifer is trans. Hey Jeff, after you pointed out the corona yesterday at the Terminator, I checked out Gematria and Hubei, the province of virus, shows up equal corona and Jewish Gematria. That's interesting. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Lucifer's trans, yeah. Barry Soetoro, Obama, whatever the day after 9/11, they sent this Series 24 programming with the Negro president of America. They showed us coming. Oh, okay, yeah. So the show 24 showed the Negro, as you're saying. That's what you meant. Yeah, I got it now. Negro president. 20 because they predictively program people with these shows, and these shows are all designed to mind control you into bringing in the Hegelian dialectic. So your entertainment is not entertainment. It's a weapon. It's evil. It's there to destroy you or to destroy all of us. Just like the Extinction Rebellion is being used to destroy all of us. So Lucifer's the son of the morning. Yep. Yeah. 50s American classic. Really good read. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. Maybe I'll check it out. It's like a short story or something. I like short stories because I don't spend too much time reading them these days. Legion is mentioned in the Bible. Legion means the legion of demons. Yes. Yes, exactly. And Lucifer, in fact, in the film The Third Exorcist, which is a really good one, actually. The second one is just awful, but the third one is called Legion, actually. And that's what it is. It's Legion. It's a legion. It's Lucifer rising, or Satan rising, using a legion to take control of humanity. Jeff, do you know anything about Latvia? No, not really. Sorry. Baphomet is androgynous, not Lucifer. Yeah. Well, that's it. And then people like, well, Lucifer is Satan or the Baphomet and all that. So, and that's where a lot of debates come into. I won't get into that, though. I'm sure many people find this too crazy to believe. I'm happy to see so many people woke up enough to know. Yeah. Angel of the morning. Yeah. Jeff, before I go, I remember seeing the clip on Instagram about how they say the government blew up the Twin Towers in 9/11 and blamed Osama for excuse to kill them. What are your thoughts? Yeah, well, I mean, it's the official story of 9/11. If you like your Brothers Grimm stories, like Rapunzel and Jack and the Beanstalk, it's about as real as those ones. But I watched Dark Fate movie. They weren't drinking Coronas, but a different beer called Rockford or something. The scene. No, it's Coronas. It's clear. I mean, do you see the Corona label? I think they block it out, but it's Corona with the lime in it. So it's clearly meant to be Coronas, because that's what I saw, 100%. Now, whether technically it's some other beer that looks exactly like Corona, and because sometimes in movies they'll drink Coke, but they'll kind of not show you the actual Coke labeling, but it's clear that they're drinking Coke, sort of thing. So, Corona Crown. The reason why we see wildfires can't be stopped is because they are crown fires. Yeah, very good point there. Also, yeah, with the Corona and the solar sort of symbolism dealing with that is very interesting. So, 24 was sent as they invaded in Afghanistan, Iraq, Freedom, etc., which they sent live TV and news agencies didn't show up. All right. and didn't show us anything but tanks living in the desert. Yeah. Kanye West performed this gospel music at Sun Devil Football Stadium. I saw Kanye West doing a sun dance at the what was it, the Sun Festival, which is the Coachella. So again, many of these occultic ceremonies worship the sun, right? Coachella is one of them, and it's a whole ritual. And Kanye West, of course, when he's singing to God, and he claims to be, for the Christian God, he's really singing for the sun. He's really worshiping the sun, right? That's so much of what they're really doing. Jeff, good to see you still hammering these demons after all these years. You have my respect, good sir. Do you think things are escalating now? Thanks, Barbara. I appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. 100%. They're escalating, unfortunately. People used to jump from 1 meter or 3 meter boards into water. Okay, that's probably not for me. Jeff, what do you think about your advice for what would be your advice for a 16-year-old? Stay away from television. Eat the best, most real food that you possibly can. And, exercise every day. And, try to find like-minded people and get out in nature and avoid all your programming as much as possible. I wouldn't get a secondary education, or I wouldn't go further in education. I would drop out, develop a trade, a craft or something that you can actually make really good money off of, and I would get yourself off the grid moving forward, or work towards that sort of goal. I don't think being in the cities is smart, but I'm still in the city. So coronavirus said to come from snakes. The snakes symbolize Satan. Yes, absolutely. The snake, of course, with the apple in the Garden of Eden. Speak up. I can't hear you. What are your thoughts on The Simpsons and all the predictions it made over the years? Yeah, well, that's what it is, right? It's your predictive programming. The Simpsons are one of the biggest. It's hard to know how much predictive programming is in The Simpsons, but it's beyond most of your entertainment. But mostly it is the cartoons that have the biggest amount of predictive programming, because the cartoons are directed towards all your family. So Simpsons is meant to be digested by everyone in your family. It's a very clever show written by very clever people that and it's never meant to end. It's always stuck in the same state. So everything in The Simpsons is highly coded. And I imagine it's much worse than it used to be. I think early Simpsons is a little bit more innocent than the more recent. I don't even know. Like, is it still on? I guess it still is. I don't watch any television. But I did watch Simpsons when I was a kid in the 90s, sort of thing. I had a buddy that got me into it, and it was hilarious. I still remember a lot of the funny scenes. But, The Simpsons is New World Order to the core. Absolutely. And so much of it is all about the deconstruction of the family and everything else. So, Jeff, you should look into game control. Not sure about that. So Rumford is showing some patent. I'm not sure which one that is. They want folks drugged up, compliant. Wake up, don't fall for this. Yeah, they do. They want you all on drugs. They want you to embrace and smoke pot and drink beer, and they want you liquored up, eating all the junk food, hooked up to the fast food and all that. That's what they want, because that keeps you dumb, and it keeps you out of trouble, and it keeps you under their control. So it's very important for people to realize that. So with that being said, it is 7 o'clock. It went longer than I thought I would. I want to say thanks to everyone here for taking part in the show today. I really appreciate all the support. Again, if you can, please do come and support me. It's very important. Patreon is a link in the description. Remember, this show can only be financed by good folks, right? So it means a lot to me if people can come and support me, because it allows me to pay bills. So I don't berate or go on about it during the show, because I want to stay focused on what I'm doing. But it does help me tremendously at people, and that's the only way you can, because they shut down everything. They censor us. They don't allow us to monetize or anything like that. So if you like this show, you like the work that I do, please do try to come and support me. Huge thanks to everyone on Patreon that does support me, and huge thanks to everyone here today taking part on the chat. Really appreciate it. And it was a great discussion. I hope you got something out of it. Maybe if you haven't already, give me a thumbs up. You know, it's good. Very important to, maybe get more people to watch the show while we still have one. And stay tuned. I'm going to do, today's Thursday, so I'll be doing Friday. Fridays for fun. I'm going to do a show tomorrow night. Typically more laid back show, but a fun show sort of thing. And, I look forward to that. So thanks all for showing up today. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great night and week and whatever coming up. All the best, folks. Take care. I'll see you soon.